Restored Republic via GCR. The latest video will be shown earlier at the official website restoredrepublic.co. Judy note to be prepared, we are facing an impending global financial crash including cyber attacks on banks. We can look out for the domestic terrorism of the U.S. Department of Defense, World Health Organization, World Economic Forum, Bill Gates, Pfizer and Moderna. We live with a Democratic Party dark agenda that included allowing open borders. We are dealing with a global food crisis, and with the fiat US dollar now not accepted for international trade, we're headed for a Christmas season with major goods shortages. On October 5, 1582, much of Europe replaced the Julian calendar with the Gregorian calendar. The switch required the 10 days after October 4 to be skipped, referred to as the 10 Days of Darkness. Monday 2nd of October, Wolverine Shelton said on his call that the 10 Days of Darkness and 12 Days of Disclosures would start after an event on Wednesday 4th of October. Monday 2nd of October, the clock ticks down, government shutdown and an impending food crisis, what you need to know. Monday 2nd of October, global domestic terrorism, military intelligence website predicted in 2015 that 260 million people in the United States would be gone by the year 2025, doctors confirm. What we think we know as of Monday, October 2, 2023, on Saturday 30th of September. The U.S. Congress diverted a government shutdown by borrowing monies from the Chinese Communist Party to fund themselves for the next 45 days. It has not been made public what kind of a deal the Democrats made with the CCP in order to keep the U.S. incorporated government going until November 15, 2023. Sunday 1st of October was the beginning of the new fiscal year. We will have freedom from debt through implementation of a global currency reset of gold/asset-backed currency. On Monday 2nd of October, Alex Collier received word that the National Guard has been deployed throughout the United States. 5,000 Starlink satellites were floating across the sky and ready for an emergency alert system, EAS, activation. The EAS was not to be confused with the pending FEMA Emergency Broadcast System, EBS, test where the cabal planned to attack our phones, TVs and Wi-Fi technology on Wednesday 4th of October. Between 2 and 4 p.m. EST. It was advised to turn them off during that time in order to avoid 5G attacks. Congressional U.S. Incorporated President impeachment hearings have begun on Joe Biden. Though, Joe Biden was not really Joe Biden and has been played by several actors since his so-called inauguration in January 2021. The real Joe Biden faced the noose in January 2021 just prior to his fake inauguration to U.S. Incorporated. President after being charged and convicted of crimes against humanity by the military, which has been in charge of the American government since Trump turned it over to them after the 2020 election that the military found to be ingrained in fraud. Congress, Biden arrested as military rescues tortured children from tunnels beneath Capitol Hill. U.S. Incorporated was not representative of U.S. citizens, but a privately owned entity which took over and has controlled U.S. taxpayer monies since 1913. U.S. Incorporated was run and privately owned by bankers like Rothschild and Rockefellers, the Crown Bank of London and Vatican. U.S. Incorporated was broke. They filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in 2018, the so-called mortgage crisis, and were awarded that bankruptcy in 2020 case hash, 20,375 kks. The Internal Revenue Service, which collected U.S. taxes, was also privately owned by the bankers, as was the Federal Reserve. In 2007, Alan Greenspan, chairman of the Federal Reserve from 1987 to 2006, said that the Federal Reserve was an independent agency that was not a part of the U.S. government, was above the law and could print as much money as they wanted with no one to stop them. That printing of fiat U.S. dollars has led to the Federal Reserve being shut down. In September 2023, the Fed laid off over 300 workers and was taken off the debt clock. The Fed building in Washington, D.C. has been wrapped entirely in white plastic with excavation going on beneath it. The Fed had planned to finance itself through creation of non-asset-backed digital currency, but that idea was shot down by Congress since the fiat U.S. dollar was defunct. The privately owned U.S. incorporated government operated under admiralty law, maritime law or law of the sea, and not under constitutional common law, giving U.S. citizens no standing in their own court system. The reason the Brunson petitions on voter fraud in the 2020 election have not been heard, and the reason Ken Cromar of the Ken and Barbie vs. Goliath IRS case sits in jail with no way to defend himself even though he won his case in a federal tax court. all of which and lots more would soon be explained and taken care of under constitutional guidelines upon activation of the Emergency Broadcast System, EBS, that will broadcast worldwide with documentaries in 55 languages and 600 dialects on all channels on the planet. Courtesy of the Alliance Space Force, a very different broadcast from the Wednesday 4th of October. FEMA EASE test is explained below. Be warning, word was that during the FEMA Emergency Broadcast System test on Wednesday 4th of October, the cabal had plans to attack our phones, TVs and Wi-Fi technology. Absolutely do not participate. Turn off all devices. Unplug all computers. Disconnect all information technology from Wi-Fi between 2 and 4 p.m. EST on Wednesday 4th of October. Emergency alert test is coming. When is the test? What will it say? Monday 2nd of October, warning, October 4th 2023, preparing for the big SHTF or just another test by FEMA. C. October 4th FEMA Emergency Alert System. 5G frequencies and 5G towers were not designed to help with cell phone coverage. If you send out a certain frequencies such as found with 5G for over a min, it will activate certain things in the body. Those harming frequencies could be broadcast during the Wednesday 4th of October. FEMA Emergency Alert System test for the U.S. Because of the dangers of frequencies that were ingrained in the Emergency Alert System test, it was advised to shut off phones, TVs, etc. between 2 to 4 p.m. EST on Wednesday 4th of October. D. White Hat Intel, the United States is under military control. This event has already happened. These operations and continuity of government, COG, is the principle of establishing defined procedures that allow a government to continue its essential operations in case of a catastrophic event such as nuclear war. In the U.S., COG is no longer limited to nuclear emergencies. The Continuity of Operations Plan was activated following the September 11th attacks. Moreover, these operations coincide with the Department of Defense military laws of war that can be activated through presidential powers, executive orders that execute and addresses military occupation. Chapter 11.3 Laws of War, Covert and Overt Military Operations. Trump, Musk and Tucker Carlson were working together behind the scenes. The U.S. White Hat military is controlling the Supreme Court SCOTUS. The Brunson case is being saved for the exposure of a military coup that happened through 2020 stolen election. Possible global currency reset timeline. The Forex was down all Sunday evening 1st of October, and then came up Monday morning 2nd of October with all values set to zero. Monday 2nd of October Franc 26, all red high alert. Monday 2nd of October TNT Tony. It's all supposed to happen Monday night 2nd of October. Banks have told people they have given SKRs to that they will be liquid tonight Monday 2nd of October. Three-letter agencies are saying after 3 p.m. Eastern Monday 2nd of October into the night. 2s. 3rd of October is Iraq's Independence Day, and on Wednesday 4th of October, they are to be accepted into the World Trade Organization. Monday 2nd of October Stacy, I was in my bank today. The manager told me he cannot divulge a date, but the change in currency, his words, has been updated today. The screen show Bolivar, Dong and Dinar. He didn't know about the Zim bonds or agrochecks, but there are 206 currencies on their screen now. They cannot exchange until they are given the go. The software has completed and they tested the De Lauro machine they have. Monday 2nd of October Wolverine, I received a very important call today. I am very emotional. All I can tell you is that we are ready. We are ready. This is defiantly coming, keep an eye on your emails. Monday 2nd of October Marks, I would say it's a high possibility that we would go this week. I have a number of contractor sources in Iraq who verify that yes, HCL money is indeed moving and people are getting paid. Even in the Kurdish and northern Iraqi area where they have been waiting forever to get their salaries. One of my contacts said that he was told to hang on to as much dinar as he could as they were expecting a value change in the very near future. Near enough that a few sources are traveling back to Iraq later this week in the hopes that this is it for them. So to answer the question, is it possible this week? Well, things are sure lining up. I was hearing there was really strange military movement over the weekend. Reports from the National Guard and people being called up, being rearranged, troop movements, looks like something is gearing up. Bruce, according to instructions given to some redemption centers, Tier 4B, us, the Internet Group, could be notified to set exchange/redemption appointments on Monday 2nd of October. Judy note, intel received from a high-up source indicated that Tier 4B may not be notified until Friday 6 October, with appointments starting the next day. 2s. 3 October has been officially designated as the National Day of the Republic of Iraq to celebrate Iraqi freedom from the U.S. incorporated on that 2s. 3 October Iraq would likely declare that they were a sovereign nation. On that same 2s. 3 October the stock market was expected to continue to sell off, and when it hit 20% it would be at the point of no return and close early. On Wednesday 4 October Iraq would be welcomed to the World Trade Organization with a fully reinstated Iraqi dinar international traded currency. Wednesday 4 October was also considered the day when the official stock market crash would happen. A test on the worldwide emergency broadcast system has been scheduled for Wednesday 4 October. Hal Turner, October 4 test of emergency alert system, nationwide. No, it's not the zombie apocalypse. Monday 2 October Wolverine, Shelton said on his call that the 10 days of darkness and 12 days of disclosures would start after this event on Wednesday 4 October. By 2s. 10 October the bulk of redemption appointments and exchanges were expected to be done. On Wednesday 11 October, another possible EBS date with Biden removal, that would kick off a 4-month military action. The second week of October the restitution and reparation funds will be given out for seniors over 60 in a lump sum. For ages 50 to 60 they will be paid out over a 12-month period, and ages 30 to 49 paid out over a 15-year period. Bruce. The end of October Sidney Powell has a date with the Supreme Court to present evidence on 2020 election fraud. On Wednesday 1 November, it was the goal to have currency exchanges and ZIM bond redemptions completed, at which time the U.S. federal dollar would be considered worthless. In November Social Security will be paid out in much higher payments. Bruce. The SSR&R payments start on a monthly basis beginning in January 2024, Bruce. On January 1, 2024 the fiat U.S. dollar will be worth nothing. Also starting January 1, 2024 all currencies across the globe will be on par 1-to-1 with each other. Rumor GCR recent history, walking stick, an Iraqi citizen and bank owner, the tender for the currency and coins has been met per request, meaning, requirements, for release of the new Iraqi dinar exchange rate has been fulfilled. Wolverine, the funds have been released and placed on the quantum financial system. On Friday 15 September Iraq officially RVD their dinar. On Friday 22 September Iraq announced the new Iraqi dinar international rate as $11.90. On that same Friday 22 September the quantum financial system took over the global financial system. On Sunday evening 24 September the QFS was activated, with all funds gold-backed. On Thursday 28 September Iraq abolished the dollar in its currency auctions, Central Bank of Iraq. On Thursday 28 September a 10-day process began of an automatic increase in the value of the dinar, franc 26. On Friday 29 September the HCL oil payments to Iraqi citizens was being paid with an in-country rate of $5+. Friday 29 Sept was a dramatic beginning of the stock market crash. The Chinese Communist Party defense minister, plus the CEO of the world's largest real estate company, the CCP's Evergrande, had gone missing. That halted Evergrande shares on a stock market that was already in free fall, while odds soared for a U.S. government shutdown by Sunday 1 October. Any, or all of which could easily bring on a global financial crisis that would trigger a global currency reset. Sunday 1 October was the first banking day of October in the Mideast and start of the new U.S. fiscal year. All banks were required to be on the gold/asset-backed quantum financial system rather than the old fiat currency SWIFT system by Sunday 1 October. On Monday 2 October the Iraqi WS Bank U.S. branch was open for business. As the stock market reopened sell-offs would continue, that was expected to trigger an early close of all trading until 2's. 3 October morning. Global financial crisis. Monday 2 October Jazar and Nizra, the biggest transfer of wealth ever, we're never going back to the old system. Monday 2 October U.S. Fed official says high interest rates likely for some time. This is the only way they can attract Treasury bond investors to fund the debt, but it's going to backfire massively. More expensive capital is going to accelerate the collapse by causing prices to increase at a time when most folks are already defaulting on their payments and the rest of the world is through financing our toxic debt. The real issue here isn't inflation or devaluation so much as de-dollarization. The Fed is trying to pull another rabbit out of their hat, but this time it won't work. We have shut down their illicit revenue streams that prop up the USD. Monday 2nd of October. Dramatic shift in the global financial ecosystem. Global central banks abandon US dollar for glittering gold, the great gold rush. Why did the Central African Republic toss out Bitcoin, the street crypto? Bitcoin and cryptocurrency news, advice, analysis and more. FTX exploiter moved over $17 million in #ETH in the last 24 hours. A significant portion of the 7,749 ETH, worth roughly $13 million, was directed toward the Thorchain router and railgun contract. The Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, RBZ, has announced its intention to introduce a new transactional currency called Zimbabwe Gold, ZiG, which will be backed by the valuable mineral resource. These gold-backed digital tokens, GBDT, are designed for transactional purposes to streamline payments. Monday 2nd of October. Tokyo, China, Reuters. Japanese stocks soared on Monday, with the exporter-heavy Nikkei 225 share average buoyed by the yen slide to its lowest point in nearly a year and after the U.S. avoided a government shutdown. However, the rest of the region's equity markets were mixed, with Australia's oil and resource shares hurt by the decline in crude prices last week. Trading was also thinned by a market holiday in Hong Kong, while mainland China had been shut since Friday for the Golden Week holiday, which runs until the end of this week. German MEP, Christine Anderson, explained how CBDCs, in conjunction with digital ID, will be used to exert absolute control over the global population. If you don't comply, they will just shut down your bank account. And it's not like it hasn't happened before. Look to Canada. There were people standing up for their freedom, for their right not to get some unknown substance injected into their arms. They shut down their bank accounts. So if there was no cash, what are you going to do? They can just eliminate you with a flip of a switch. It's as simple as that. Stored Republic via GCR. Update. The Quantum Financial System, QFS, is here and it's turning everything we knew upside down. Changemaker 17. So here is my latest theory for the week. They always told us there will be no double dipping of currencies. Meaning one is not going to RV before the other, so you can't use that money from exchange to go buy more currency. Iraq has their Independence Day October 3rd and admission to the WTO October 4th. They must reinstate their currency prior to the 4th, and in doing so they make the currency intentional. If what we heard is true about the U.S. Congress repealing the Iraq War Declaration last week, that means that was the final thing that needed to be done in the U.S. in order for U.S. banks to exchange the dinar. We have much hype about October 3rd to 4th with an EBS test and major Q deltas indicating everything from narrative shift to a Navy ship crashing and being bigger than we know. To me it seems we will have a scare event around the 4th. We have had when we do have EBS, lockdown it could last 72 hours. Many prophets have prophesied that there will be a scare event then exchange after. We have the biblical message of turning the table over on the money changers appearing on the U.S. debt clock all while the Forex is zeroed out and has all currencies added. Bank personnel have confirmed now seeing over 200 currencies on their screen including dinar, bolivar, and dong. Monday October 9th is Columbus Day and a bank holiday. We always heard the RV will be done on a 3-day weekend. To me it seems it could be scare event, EBS Wednesday the 4th. We go into lockdown for 72 hours and we get RV notifications going into the weekend. The stock market will be blown up Monday. Whiplash always said it would literally be blown up and blamed on a CME when no one is in it. No stock without source, merge it into Stellar, the Q delta that says private exchange last is dated Jan 22. The other delta mentioning currency said think currency think fireworks. September 11th was Ethiopian New Year, 22 days later bring us to October 3rd. It really seems it is all converging for this week into the weekend. Irish Stored Republic, Monday 2nd of October. The Pentagon's clandestine military tribunal within Guantanamo Bay. The debt clock keeps getting better, our republic can be easily seen in the new categories. The new categories say USA instead of US. US is the corporate US government. USA is our republic. The new USA Treasury Dollars 2025 has a map of our nation next to the header. Zoom in. Our republic is outlined in gold. The US M2 money supply now is decreasing rapidly. This category has a pyramid and Federal Reserve dollars in the background, so we know it's the Illuminati and foreign elite. They're losing their money. However, the new category of USM $2 to USA dollar ratio now is 1776. Ha! Hysterical. 1776, our constitutional republic. Ken and Barbie vs. Goliath IRS. For over 5 years Barbie and Ken Cromar have been battling for our right of freedom from the privately owned U.S. Incorporated's Goliath IRS that has stolen our U.S. taxpayer dollars for their own use since 1913. Even after the Cromars won their case in a federal tax court that ruled they owed no monies to the IRS, a 27-man SWAT took away their fully paid-for home and threw away all their possessions, including expensive camera equipment Ken used to make a living. They have now incarcerated Ken in the Utah Weber County Jail, where federal prosecutor Chris Angelos was to provide Ken with discovery as of September 19, 2023, which has not been done, leaving Angelos' potential violation of various federal statutes, including but not limited to, Title 18 Seconds 241, Conspiracy to Deny Rights, Title 18 Seconds 242, Denial of Constitutional Rights under the color of law, plus misprision of a felony. There appeared to be a systematic and prejudicial effort to deny Cromar his right to due process in order to assure an outcome that would find him guilty of a fabricated crime he did not commit. Documented fraud in former Utah movie producer indictment leads to another DOJ criminal complaint/referral. The militarized privately owned IRS was using maritime law, where U.S. citizens have no standing, not constitutional law, to make an example of the Cromars. This could happen to anyone, and very like has to many in the past. It's time we stand behind the Cromars and fight for our freedoms. Ken's mailing address: he can only receive white postcards. Paul Kenneth Cromar, number 655950, Weber County Jail, P.O. Box 14000, Ogden, Utah 84412. El Maui Massacre, an urgent plea for help. The capital of the sovereign nation of Hawaii and Lahaina, Maui, has been destroyed. 4 key facts that will never change. 1. Hunter Biden sat on Burisma's board. 2. He was unqualified to do so. 3. Burisma pressured him to get D.C. to act on policy issues in Ukraine. 4. Joe Biden did just that. Q. The real news for Monday, October 2, 2023, Monday 2nd of October live. Major arrests decode situation update October 2, 2023, major arrests coming, The Pulse with Dave, on Tuesday. 3rd of October, Russia will conduct a nationwide nuclear weapons defense exercise. 9/11, Zionists, Rothschild central bankers, did it. 4,000 Israelis employed by companies housed in the World Trade Center stayed home from work on September 11. They were warned in advance of the impending attack on the World Trade Center. America is ground zero, Rodriguez. The Harvey Weinstein trial lead to who? Joe Biden, your faux president. Do you see the trend? So what is the conclusion? If you control the food, you control the people. That's ultimately the end goal. All around the world, unelected globalist bodies like the UN and WEF are waging war against farmers. In an attempt to seize control of the global food supply, under the banner of UN Agenda 2030 as detailed in a must-watch new documentary titled No Farmers, No Food, Will You Eat the Bugs? Joe Biden is not the real Joe Biden. Joe Biden is not the real president. USA Incorporated filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy 2020 case hash, 2040,375 KKS. We are watching a white hat movie, the 2021 USA Incorporated Joe Biden shadow presidency. France, unconfirmed reports emerged that several senior and active French military commanders have delivered an ultimatum to Emmanuel Macron, restore order within 48 hours or else. Colombia, Bill Gates' mosquito factory in Colombia releases 30 million genetically modified mosquitoes a week into 11 countries. Red October refers to a term that has been used in different contexts throughout history. In the financial world, Red October has been used to describe a period of significant market declines or financial crises that occur during the month of October. Our Crimes Against Humanity in Canada, a dossier of evidence, the case of 60,000 murdered children and the man who surfaced their fate, Annette, Kevin, 9,798,399,033,556. Her name was Nicole Turcotte. She was one of the crowd of young students who had listened enthralled as I spoke of the children who had been killed just down the road. And, being young, Nicole was resolved to do something about it. The weekend after my lecture at her North Saanich High School, Nicole and 5 of her friends took some of my leaflets and quietly infiltrated the United Church's annual meeting in Victoria. They made a beeline for the youth delegates' table and began talking to them about the Indian residential children who had died in droves at the hands of their church. The next thing I knew, some big guy grabbed me by my arm and pulled me up, Nicole recalled. Then he dragged me to the door and pushed me out. I told him I had every right to be there, that it was a public place and I was protected by the Charter of Rights and Freedom. But he laughed and said, "We are the United Church of Canada. The Charter doesn't apply to us." 20 years later I still remember the tears in Nicole's eyes as she told me what had happened and fervently demanded to know, how do they get away with it? How indeed, Kevin Annett Eagle strong voice. An open letter to Canadians who wear orange shirts. This statement by Kevin Annett is endorsed by Squamish, Stolo, Chilcotin, Cree, Ojibwe, Huron and Mohawk Indigenous elders. Most of you aren't Indigenous and have likely never been sexually sterilized, tortured, or forced to eat maggots as a child, even though you've all paid for those atrocities with your tax money. So, we'll keep this basic. Reclaim their wealth and church buildings as reparations for their victims. Join the movement to build a decolonized Republic of Equal Nations, U Federal Reserve, Yorkshire Lass. A few weeks ago it was reported the Fed was laying off 300 workers. Last week the Federal Reserve note gets taken off the U.S. debt clock. A couple of weeks ago Wall Street suffered the worst losses since March this year and they're seeing sell-offs at an alarming rate never seen before. On the 21st September both Federal Reserve and Bank of England paused interest rates at 5.25 to 5.5%. In September Representative Tom Emmer introduces a bill to ban the Federal Reserve from creating a central bank digital currency, saying a CBDC is nothing more than a CCP-style surveillance tool that can be weaponized to oppress the American way of life. Fed President James Bullard resigned from the St. Louis Fed on August 14. In an interview in 2007 Alan Greenspan, who was the chairman of the Federal Reserve from 1987 to 2006 said that the Federal Reserve is an independent agency that is not a part of the U.S. government and is above the law where the relationship between them doesn't matter. They can print as much money as they want and no one can stop them. Now they are digging 20 feet underground and it looks like a building site. Looks like they are digging the underground parking and tunnels. The Federal Reserve is currently draped in white plastic tarping sheets. Is this really the end of the Fed whilst all eyes have been on the bullshit government shutdown? Remember about 5 months before his assassination, JFK signed EO 11110. This executive order would give back the American currency back to the American people by printing money backed by precious metals by taking power from the criminal cartel the Federal Reserve. The U.S. corporation is now bankrupt. Gold has destroyed the Fed, they have no money. The Federal Reserve has sunk like the Titanic before our very eyes. They have been doing everything in their power to distract us whilst the slavery system shatters into 1,000 pieces.